Replacing the rear anti-roll bar bushes on the P2 V70. Undo the dome nut and bolt holding the bush clamp in position. Now you may want to do this before ordering the bushes for the anti-roll bar. So push the old bush out of the way and measure the size of your anti-roll bar, because there are actually two options. They are usually 21mm, but the anti-roll bar fitted to my car is 19mm for some reason. It will take some patience and it'll seem like the clamp is all one piece. They'll be so stuck together, but eventually you'll be able to prise them apart, as you can see, and there's a lip on the outer part that's holding the inner part in position. Once you manage to separate it, the clamp will come apart. So now we need to cut the old bush, and we want to take special care not to put our hands in a position where if the knife slips it goes straight through our hand. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, but it's definitely not worth slicing through your hand for the sake of this job. So you'll need to carefully cut through the new bush also. Best place to do it is the flat side. So unfortunately what happened for me was with the anti-roll bar being 19mm, I'd already ordered a 21mm bush before checking the size of the anti-roll bar. I then ordered a 19mm bush from Lithuania, which came and was 17mm internal diameter, so basically unusable. So I've ended up using the 21mm bush anyway, despite being quite a loose fit. I'm hoping that once the clamp is round it and everything's tightened up, that it will be secure enough to hold the anti-roll bar. Now you'll notice that the bushes are a different style to the originals. They've got this sort of flat edge on them that's raised, whereas the old bushes didn't have that. I thought that was due to wear, but they are a fully different mould. And when trying to replace this clamp, I honestly thought that I was never going to be able to get the bushes to fit, but do persist. This is what they'll be like with a new bush, and there are plenty of ways to get them back in position. So I tried hitting the clamp with a hammer to get them to compress back together. This did next to nothing. So I then tried using a G-clamp, and this just couldn't quite do it either, because it needed to be pushed into position and clamped the two clamps together as well. So what I ended up doing was getting the clamp lined up with the chassis and jacking the car up on the clamp. Jacking the car up on the bush clamp was just enough to get the very end of the bolt through, but this wasn't enough to get the nut back on the ball. So what I also ended up having to do was fit a G-clamp around the bush clamp in order to get the bolt back through far enough to get the nut on. Now you might think, why would you go to the trouble of replacing these bushes in such a way? And the previous owner had similar thoughts. What they had done was filled in the old bushes with silicone just to get them to continue to get through the MOT. Now, the reason for this is you can't buy replacement bushes from Volvo. You have to buy a full replacement anti-roll bar at a cost of £166 plus VAT. I'm not sure whether there'll be any trade discount on that, but that's the price that I've just been quoted from Riverside Volvo in Hull. And this is the new bush fully fitted. The ball has pulled the clamp together completely, and that's the old bush. And on the other side, you can see this was how they'd masked the issue by covering it with black silicone.